Magic in the morning and a Barbie girl. I'm sorry, I'm grinning. 8:37, a chilly morning. Mike Barrett in for another installment of Good Policies. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. If you're grinning, I'm Barrett. Get it? Grinning Barrett.
Oh, my gosh.
But I'm bum. I'll be here all day. Try the veal.
What number cup of coffee is that?
That is actually my first real full cup.
Okay.
The rest have all been little sips.
I have felt like a snail all day long.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with everybody.
Not always easy.
Yeah. All right. So we had a good chat last week, an educational chat about glass and your insurance and how it's changing in the industry. And you have something absolutely new, at least for my pea-sized brain, to talk about this morning. And I guess, it actually almost ties in pretty well with tax time.
A little bit.
Audit.
Yeah.
What in the world is an insurance audit?
Yeah, so there are policies out there that are called auditable policies. Say that 20 times. Auditable. I can do it. Okay. Twice anyway. But an auditable policy, what is that? Well, we're going to start with the most basic form of an auditable policy, and that is a workers' compensation policy. So you are a business, you have employees, and you have a workers' compensation policy. I'm going to use my policy term as an example because it's so darn easy and it's happening right now. My policy term is January 1 to January 1. And at January 1 of 2026, and I've had this every January 1, I get a notice a few weeks after my renewal saying, your audit's open. It's not what they say. I mean, they're a lot nicer than that. But like, hey, bucko, it's time to do it. So what do I have to do? I have to go in and I have to report my actual payroll for 2025. So I'm not reporting on my current policy term. I'm reporting on a past policy, something that already has occurred. And why is that important?
I was just going to ask you that. Obviously, your payroll is going to fluctuate year by year, right?
Correct. I could have added or removed employees. I could have increased pay. Certainly hope I don't lower pay. That's not a good trend. But there is a fluctuation. And I can actually tell you this past year, we hired an additional employee and a half. So we have a part-timer, a full-timer. We added to our office. So I know that when I finish my audit, I will owe money. Because now the payroll that I was paying on X dollars has been increased by however much more I'm paying for those individuals. So now the difference per $100 of payroll times the rating that I have is what I'm going to owe to my workers' compensation carrier.
All right. So an immediate question that pops up in my mind is, so this is to set that rate from January 1 to January 1, or
Yes.
or I was going to say, if you cut employees before the end of the year, can you modify it?
There are some policies out there that are kind of pay as you go, right? So they can be more of a live, living, breathing kind of policy. Not a lot of people do that, but it is available with some companies. And yeah, if you have a seismic shift, not always a bad idea to let that be known ahead of time so you're not getting hit. Because let's be honest, if I get hit with a $200 or $300 or $400, I've seen people hit with $10, $12, $15,000 bill for a policy that's past tense. That's going to make me angry, right? But that's the way it works. And if it's a seismic shift, if it's a significant increase one way or the other, you will see oftentimes the workers' compensation policy currently in place. So the 1/126 to 1/127 will then be adjusted to reflect the payroll that I reported one way or the other. So this is one great example. It is very important, especially with workers' comp, that if you're paying somebody as a subcontractor, remember, employees are employees, and you have to pay for workers' compensation to comply. But if I have somebody mowing my lawn, I better get a certificate of insurance and show proof that they're a subcontractor, not an employee, so that I'm not paying workers' compensation to cover that exposure.
Okay, so that makes common sense because you are insuring your employees, right?
Exactly.
So then here comes a question. What if we start dealing with something that is, say, state regulated, like the food or the beverage industry?
Well, this is definitely state regulated.
Yeah.
So workers' comp is required. So state enforcement is certainly a heavy mechanism on there. So, the real thing here is if you're paying somebody to do something, they're your employee. A lot of people like to do the cash deal and work around it. That's fine. We're focusing today. It's not fine, but we're focusing today on auditing. So the other types of policies that are auditable, Jeff, would be like a liquor liability policy. So if you have liquor sales and you say, well, I sell $100,000 worth of liquor a year, okay, well, here's your rate for your liquor liability. And then at the end of that policy term, an audit comes out, you complete it. Nope, you didn't sell 100,000, you sold 250,000. Well, that's an increased exposure. And again, you're going to see an expired policy with premium due. It's a very hard pill to swallow. And I think that if people know about this going into it, it helps them, right? It makes them understand, maybe I won't go so low on my projections. I'd rather see people go a little higher, right? Because a lot of times that's going to be more accurate. So other key policies that are auditable would be, certainly you got the workers' comp, the liquor liability, errors and omissions. Like my insurance agency is based on our volume, our size. That's the case for any errors and omissions policy. It's going to be based on your size. So there's a lot of general liability policies that fall into being an auditable policy as well. And even if you want to get into the weeds, not necessarily auditing in terms of numbers, but auditing in terms of accuracy, umbrella policies, home, commercial, all the above. So.
Well, one of the reasons that question popped into my mind about liquor sales and stuff like that is a friend of mine has recently grown his food truck, for lack of a better phrase.
Ah, gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
And he has recently announced that he has now gotten his liquor license.
Gotcha. Yep. So in Vermont, they did pass a law that it's required that if you're selling liquor, you have to have liquor liability. That was never really a law before. As to whether that law has been put in enforcement yet, I'm not sure. I know they kind of kicked that can down the road. I really should check to see if it's in place. Does that mean that you shouldn't carry liquor liability for selling liquor if the state of Vermont does not require it? No. I always say never have insurance because somebody tells you to do it. Have insurance to protect yourself. So if you are exposing yourself with liquor sales, you want to make sure you got liquor liability. It's not going to be for lower sales, it's not all that bad, but if you're starting to have some pretty high, hefty sales, it can be a bit of a sticker shock from time to time.
Well, safety first. Always best to err on the side of the caution if it costs you a couple of bucks. And people are going to want to reach out to you now and talk about this, so tell them how.
Sure, give us a call, 748-5224. You can find our office on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. We're online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
All righty. Thanks an awful lot, Mike. You and the family stay bundled up next few days.
Stay warm, my friend.
We'll do our best. Hometown Minute coming up shortly. Right now we go back to the music with For King and Country and Michael W. Smith.